Hey, you guys are looking good today. Hey, while you're standing up, look around you real quick. Find the best looking person you can in here today. I know you've only been here just a little bit, but find the best looking. Once you find the best, don't everybody look up here. There's other people. Once you find that really good looking person, look right at them. Tell them this. Tell them the rest of your life will be the best of your life. All right, that's pretty good. I think we could do better, though. Hold on. I think we could do better. Look at your second choice real quick. No, I'm kidding. Okay, before you sit down, point to yourself. Just point to yourself. Say, the rest of my life will be the best of my life. All right, you can be seated. If you've ever heard me before, then you probably said those words before. If not, I'm going to get you to say them again as many times as I can today, because what you continually hear, you'll eventually believe. If you hear your whole life, you're dumb, you're stupid, you'll never make anything of yourself, you may start believing those kind of things. But if you keep hearing the rest of your life will be the best of your life, pretty soon you'll start believing. How many believe your life could get better? Today, I want you to be listening for a key. There'll be one thing that's said today. There's going to be a lot of things said throughout the day, but there'll be one thing that you say, you know what, that's the thing I needed to hear. Heard about a student lifted his hand. Teacher said, you have a question? He said, yeah. He said, what did I learn today? Teacher said, that's kind of an odd question. Why would you ask me that? He said, because that's what they're going to ask me when I get home. What did I learn today? Hope you're going to learn something today. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is what you know. How many like to be doing better than you're doing right now? Let me see your hand if you'd like to be doing better than you're doing. Okay, if you're not doing as well as you'd like to be doing, it just means there's something you don't know. When I heard that, I went from being a know-it-all to being a learn-it-all. I've noticed that successful people constantly learn and grow. You've heard those leaders are readers and earners are learners, and you've heard all those things. But here's the thing. There's the difference between where you are and where you want to be. How many have ever heard that? What you don't know can hurt you. You've heard that statement before. What you don't know. Guy fixed one of the computers at our office and was there maybe 5 minutes. Got the computer working and gave me a bill for $300. I'm like, you were here like 5 minutes, you know. What did you do that cost $300? Maybe you could give me an invoice or something. I could give it to the accounting department. He said, yeah, no problem. He wrote a couple things on the invoice. I looked at it. It said, turn screw, ½ inch, 50 cents. Knowing which screw to turn, $299.50. So sometimes it is just what you know that makes all the difference in the world. And so today we're going to get some information, talking about a key. The other day I got ready to go to a meeting and I couldn't find my keys. Anybody ever lost your keys? You ever lost your keys? Yeah, how many have wasted time looking for your keys in places you've never even left your keys? Right? I mean, you've never put your keys in the freezer. But did you check in there? Maybe I set them in the freezer. I don't know. And you're looking all over. Now what you're doing is you're wasting time. You don't ever want to waste time because time is really all you've got. All God gave you was time. I have a place right now inside my garage. Right when I get out of the car, I just hang my keys so I know right where they are. Now I'm not wasting time looking all over for my keys because I've created order. Order is the accurate arrangement of things. When things are where they're supposed to be, it creates order. You feel good when things are in order. How many have ever straightened up the shoes in your closet and felt like you could conquer the world? How many know what I'm talking about? You straighten your garage, you're like, what else can I do? All of a sudden you feel like you can do anything because you begin to create order. Your desk, your workspace, whatever it may be, you're creating order. Order, the accurate arrangement of things. The reason you feel so good when you create order is because order is a God thing. God is a God of order. So you're doing a godly thing when you put things in order. And so now order makes it easier because now here I'm not wasting time because you don't want to waste time. Time is all you've got. Sequence. Two people can do the exact same thing, just do it in two different order or two different sequence and get completely different results. Right? One guy gets up in the morning, gets dressed, eats breakfast, drives to work. Another guy gets up in the morning, does the same three things, eats breakfast, drives to work, and gets dressed. They did the exact same three things, just two different order, two different sequence, completely different results, right? One guy gets a promotion, another guy gets arrested, you know, indecent exposure. So order is important. And like I said, you'll waste time. When things aren't in order, you waste time. And time, if you understand time, time is all you've got. America has the dollar, Mexico has the peso, Japan has the yen, England has the pound. Every country has a currency. That's how they operate with the currency. Heaven would even have a currency. Heaven's currency would be faith. As the Bible says, anything you need from heaven, you receive by faith. But earth has a currency. Earth's currency is time. Anything you have today, you traded your time for. Anything you don't have today, you've been unwilling to trade your time for. So all you've got is time. That's all God gave you. I don't teach a lot on time management because I don't really think you manage time. I think time is something you invest. You choose to invest your time. God didn't give me friends. God gave me time. I traded my time with someone, and now I have a friendship. God didn't give me money. God gave me time. I traded my time with someone. They gave me a paycheck. All God gave us was time. So how you invest the moments of your day, and here's what I have found. Rich people don't have more time than poor people. And poor people don't have less time than rich people. Everyone has the exact same amount of time, 24 hours in a day. It's what you do with those 24 hours that determines what you get at the end of the day. So if I've got 24 hours in my day, 24 boxcars on my train to success, every day I've got 24 hours. Anybody here have more than 24 hours? Just wanted to check. No, okay, good. We're pretty equal here then. Anybody got less than 24 hours? So we're all equal, same amount of time to invest every day. Anybody feel like you have less than 24 hours? Yeah. A lot of us have. Just don't, not enough time. I got ran off the road by a lady doing her makeup in the car the other day. Not enough time, she didn't do it at home. Saw someone shaving in the car. Had her leg up on the dashboard. It's just weird. But here's the thing. If you understand time, you start thinking differently about the moments of the day. I had a mentor of mine ask me one day, he said, how many hours of television do you watch every day? Started thinking about it and adding it up. And I got to 2 hours, maybe 2.5 pretty quick. I was like, wow, I didn't realize I watched that much. By the time I'll watch a show with the family and maybe catch a little late show, watch the news in the morning or something like that. Pretty soon I got up to, he said, what if you took an hour a day to invest in yourself, to learn something new, to read a book? I read the average American watches about 6 hours of television a day. Think about that. So if you have 24 boxcars on your train to success and you fill 6 of those boxcars with CSI Miami, CSI New York, CSI Las Vegas, CSI, it's a lot of CSIs. But think about this, if you took 1 hour, one CSI, right? Take 1 out, not Miami, that's awesome, that's one of my favorite ones. But if you took 1 hour out and invested in yourself, I don't have time to learn something new, 365 hours. Hey, get up an hour early, skip lunch. A couple of us could afford that. Just think about that. You take an hour a day to learn something you didn't know before. 365 hours, what's that's like 14, 40-hour work weeks? How many think you can learn something in that amount of time? But it's your choice on how you invest the moments of your day. We've got a lot of different kind of people in here. We've got any business owners, entrepreneurs. Let me see your hand. Business owners and entrepreneurs. Okay, good. A lot of them. Great, love that. Anybody in sales? Anybody in sales? Okay, good. Got a lot of people in sales. Great. Managers. Any managers? Got some managers. Okay, good. Got managers. Anybody got a job? Jobs. Okay, good. That covers everybody. So here we got all kind of different people. That reminds me of this corporation was looking to bring some diversity to their corporation, and they got together, the lead team, and they said, what are we going to do? Any ideas? We need a little more diversity. And one guy stood up and said, hey, he said, I just met this group of cannibals the other day that are looking for a job. He said, that'd be pretty diverse. We've never had cannibals before. What do you say we give them a shot? He said, well, that'd be diverse. We've never done that. He said, okay, bring them in. So they brought them in, a big group of cannibals. They said, hey, listen, we're willing to give you guys a job, give you an opportunity. We just got a few rules. We're going to give you all the benefits, everything everybody else has. Even an extra benefit that everyone doesn't have is you have free access to the cafeteria. All the food you want. You can eat all the food you want. All we ask is you just don't eat any of the people. So they said, great, we're just happy to have a job. We've never had a job. This will be great. So they took the job. After about a month, everything was going great, but they noticed they were missing an executive assistant. So they called the cannibals in. They said, hey, listen, ever since you've been here, everything's been great. I mean, quality control's up, customer service is up, sales are up, everything's up. We're excited. I mean, you've been a great benefit. We've just noticed we're missing an executive assistant, and we were wondering if one of you might have eaten the assistant. And they said, no, I didn't do it. No, none of them, they all said they didn't do it. Finally, they said, well, that's all we could do is ask, and so they said, okay. And so they left. The guy, kind of the head of the cannibals, he said, listen, guys, he said, seriously, he said, we've never had an opportunity like this, and we don't want to mess it up. Someone needs to fess up. Who ate the assistant? Finally, one of them admitted. He said, it was me. He said, why in the world would you do that? He said, listen, we have been here for a month eating managers, and no one's even noticed. Kidding, I'm kidding, managers. That was just a joke. But so we got all these different kind of people in this room. And so people ask me, when you're managing your time or investing your time, how do you invest your time? That's like when I have a meeting. My meetings have beginning times and ending times. You ever had someone come by your place, stop by, say, hey, man, just wasting some time. Thought I'd come see what you were doing. Like, yeah, now you're wasting my time too. Because if I don't value my time, no one else is going to value my time, right? So my meetings have beginning times and ending times. It's not that I don't care, but if I don't value it, no one else is going to value it. And if you show up 10 minutes late, here's the thing. When you show up 5 minutes late to a meeting, you're with 5 other people and you're 5 minutes late. Now you didn't just waste 5 minutes of your time. You wasted 25 minutes because you wasted 5 minutes of everyone else's time. That's a lot of time to waste. If you're a millionaire, that means you make about $500 an hour. How many like to be a millionaire or you are a millionaire? Let me see your hand. You like to be or you are? Let me see, okay. Should be everybody. Unless you're selfish. Only selfish people wouldn't want to be millionaires. Really? I thought that'd be selfish if I wanted to be. I had a family member told me, I'm afraid if I had $1 million, I'd be greedy. I'm like, that's because you're greedy now. Like if you're greedy with 100, you'd be greedy with 1 million. But if you're generous, my goodness, the more you have, the greater blessing you could be. It's not about the stuff. Oh, you just want to be a millionaire. You just want all the stuff. It's not about the big houses and the Maserati. That's not what it's about. I don't mind a big house or a Maserati, but that's not what it's about. Wouldn't it be awesome? Here in a few weeks we got Vision Sunday coming up, and all the amazing things that's happening in our church. How many? If you attend here to church, how many love your church? How many are grateful for this church? Man, you guys have two of the very best of the best. Leading and carrying a great vision, Pastor Obed and Lizette Martinez, and bringing this vision. And listen, to do all that God's put in their heart to do, it's going to take thousands and millions of dollars to accomplish it. And wouldn't it be amazing if he goes, hey, we're going to start another campus, we're going to reach more souls, we're going to touch more lives. And, the more blessed you are, the greater blessing you can be, right? How many like to be, hey, Pastor Obed, put me down for 100,000. How many, it's not a pledge, I'm just asking right now. Y'all like, how many like to be able to do that? How many like to be able to, yeah, of course, because our heart is to give. Most of us like giving. It reminds me of the guy, Paul Newman. Anybody ever heard of Paul Newman? Newman's Own salad dressing. Anybody ever used the Newman's Own salad dressing? The story behind that is Paul Newman used to make this salad dressing for his friends for Christmas. Just a gift. He put it in nice ornate bottles and give it to his friends as Christmas gifts. One of his friends said, you should really sell this stuff. This is good stuff. You could sell this and make a lot of money. He said, I've got a lot of money. He said, I got a successful career. I don't need a lot of extra money. And I got plenty. I got everything I could use right now. A few weeks later, he was thinking about it again, and all of a sudden he started thinking, I have been wanting to give more money. He said, what if we started this company and we decided with this company, all we would do was give the profits to help other people. So they started Newman's Own salad dressing with the idea of giving 100% of the profits. They were hoping, man, maybe over time they could give $500,000 to help other people. Wouldn't that be amazing? Give $500,000. And so they started the company. Here's what's amazing part. In the first year of the company, they were able to give over $1 million to charity to help other people. By the 15th year of the company, they gave over $140 million to charity. To date, Newman's Own has given over $400 million to charity. Why? Because they decided a while back, what if we just did this just to be able to give more? What if our heart was not just to make more, but it was to be able to give more? What could God do with your business, with your ideas, with your creativity, if he knew your heart was to advance others and advance the kingdom more than just yourself? And so when you start thinking about that and you start looking at what is it to be a kingdom builder, what is it to really impact the marketplace. I started thinking about that, and about 50% of what we do is in the corporate arena. Just so you know a little bit about me, we speak a lot in the corporate arena as well. And I'm not a pastor. Although I was at one point, we speak in a lot of churches. But really, my heart is to help people that are in business understand their influence and how they can use that to impact others, how they can use their finances to impact the kingdom, how they can use their success. Because have you ever noticed the more successful you are, the more influence you have? You ever notice that? You go to a room, say you go to a room full of football players. Which one do you want to hear from? The one that has the most Super Bowl rings. You go to a business conference, who do you want to hear from? The one that's created the greatest resource or built the biggest business. People listen to successful people. So the more successful you become, the greater influence you have to impact other people. And so when you start thinking about that, and I believe, here's the thing, all of us are called to ministry. Everybody in this room. And when we've been led to think that people that are called to full-time ministry are like pastors or missionaries or the worship leader, the church staff, or people like that. And we do ministry on occasion. But if you really understand this, we serve in the nursery, or we're ushers, or we're that kind of thing. But if you really understand this as Christians, we are all called to full-time ministry. Because you're anointed to be the most incredible lawyer. You're anointed to be the greatest mechanic. You're anointed to be, whatever it is you do, you're anointed by God to be the very best at what it is you do. And the Bible doesn't classify everyone by some kind of system of the most godly people are the ones that are missionaries to really bad parts of the world. That's not how God put it together. There's no list. No, we're all in ministry. The difference is where we minister. You minister in the marketplace. You minister at the bank. You minister at the law firm. You minister at the hospital. You minister in the lawn. Wherever it is that you do, whatever it is that you do, that's your ministry. So your doctor, your kid's teacher, your plumber, if they're Christians, they're called to be in full-time ministry. They're called to influence other people. And so when you understand that, you see, and a lot of times we've just thought business people, well, the pastor has the vision, and the business people, we bring the provision. And that is true. I mean, we do have that opportunity to do that. But it's just a small piece of the puzzle. Your role as a full-time minister in business covers a lot more than just simply giving money. But it'd be amazing if you could, right? Give $100,000. But Pastor, I'll take care of that. You want to start that new campus? How much will that be? $300,000? I've got it. Heard about a church, got a phone call, and the receptionist answered the phone. The guy said, I'd like to speak to the head hog at the trough. This is, excuse me, do you mean our pastor? He said, yep, that's what I'm talking about, the head hog at the trough. She's like, that's rude. That's our pastor. We love him. We respect him. We don't talk about him like, can I help you with something? He said, yeah, I heard about the new building, the new campus you guys were starting. I just wanted to make a $100,000 donation. And the assistant said, well, hold on. Let me see if Porky's in. The more blessed you are, the greater blessing you can be. And so no matter where it is, I have a friend of mine that owns a chain of music stores. He's a marketplace minister. He understands his business is succeeding, doing well. He's got several of them all over Florida now. But he'll be in his business. I got another guy who owns one of the largest Honda dealerships. He told me the other day, guy was in looking at cars. He was walking by to the office and he noticed the guy, and all of a sudden he said he just felt like God speak to him about this guy and his wife. And he went over and introduced himself as the owner of the dealership. The sales guy was there, and he said all of a sudden God just spoke to me and asked me if I would pray for them. He said, so I just asked him, could I pray for you? See, when you're a minister in the marketplace, no matter where you're at, found out the wife is just diagnosed with cancer. He took him in his office, laid hands on him, prayed for him, believed for their healing. I mean, here, wherever it is you're at, you are called to do ministry where you're at, to be a greater influence for the kingdom and to build the vision of this house. So it's amazing. When you understand all that, it's amazing at all that we're able to do. So I encourage you to think of how you can impact your corner of the marketplace for greater influence, whether it's in education or entertainment or business, whatever it may be. Do that. So let me get into some principles this morning. I think will help you. I'm not really a motivational speaker, although that's how they introduce me a lot of times, especially when I'm in the corporate arena. And that's fine. I don't tell them I'm not a motivational speaker because they were paying me a lot of money to be one. And so I just kind of went with it. But until I cashed the check. But I can't really motivate you. Only person that can motivate you is you, yeah. I could inspire you a little bit, maybe. And I may be an inspirational speaker, hopefully encourage you, educational. Hopefully you'll learn something today. Hope you brought your pen and paper and you'll write stuff down. And I like that he's saying, tweet it out there. When you hear a good point, a good quote, just tweet it out there, hashtag it. Make sure you put my picture there. Tag me. But when you begin to understand, when you begin to see principles, I want to be a transformational speaker. Hopefully something I say today won't be as motivational, but it'll be transformational. Because I told you to be listening for a key. Remember I told you I lost those keys? Finally I found my keys. I got in the car to head to this meeting. And about 5 minutes down the road, I realized the only thing that was keeping me between my house, where I was when I couldn't find my keys, and the meeting I needed to get to, I couldn't start my car because I didn't have the key. It doesn't take a lot of keys to start your car, just takes the right key to start your car. One little key can open up a big bank vault. A small hinge can swing open a big door. Sometimes it doesn't take a lot of things, it just takes the right thing. So today I want you to be writing things down. I want you to be listening. I'm gonna give you a bunch of keys, but there'll be one key that you'll say, you know what, Dave, that's the one that I needed. That's the key that I was looking for today. And so hopefully you'll get some of those things and they'll help you. Because I think if you've ever done anything right, you did something right by coming this morning. How many are thankful for pastors and for a church that would put on an event like this and would put on an event like this to really help us to be the very best that we could be? Because here's the thing, success is important. Success, that's one of my goals in business is to succeed. I want to be really, really successful. Anything I do, I think God wants it that way. He said if you commit your plans to him, he would cause them to succeed. He said if you meditate on his word day and night, you'll have good success. Good success will be God's success. Meditate on his word day and night. That's the Bible. He said if you don't just meditate, but you do what it says. Here's what's amazing. As I travel and speak in conferences with Anthony Robbins, some of the greatest speakers and motivational speakers, what you'd say is motivational speakers in the world, I find that every one of them quote the Bible. Every one of them will quote things from the Bible. Why? Because there's no greater source of success than God's word. God put these principles here. There's the thing. There's a big difference between the person of Jesus and the principles of Jesus. The person of Jesus prepares you for heaven. The principles of Jesus prepare you for earth. The person of Jesus creates your peace. The principles of Jesus create your prosperity. There are ungodly people who will use godly principles to achieve ungodly results. While the church, we have the principles, we don't know them or we ignore them and wonder why we struggle, yet he put them right there for us from the very beginning. And if we put them to practice, I'll show you in a minute where Jim Carrey used one of these principles to succeed and use to get success in his acting career. I traced the principle back. First person to use it was Abraham. In the Bible, it was right in there for us. Now I love events like this because I can show you where all this stuff is in the Bible. And in the corporate world, they don't let me do that a lot of times. I just wait till they buy the books and I put it all in there. So they get it anyway, but I can just lay it out here for you. And so when we get into this, I want you to be listening again for these couple of principles. One more time, say the rest of my life will be the best of my life. Now, I'm going to encourage you to keep saying that once I'm gone after this weekend, to keep saying that over and over. I think they got that. You got that PowerPoint going? They can pop that up on the screen. And because here's what I want you to do. I want you to get out your phone. I want you to take a picture of this screen because I want you to remember this. Because I'm going to challenge you over the next 30 days. Not me. We're going to put it up something else up there in a minute. But you can take a picture of me too. There you go, right there. Take a picture of that screen right there. And I want you to do this 10 times a day for the next 30 days. Because how many know your words are powerful? The rest of my life will be the best of my life. And I want you to continue to say that over and over for the next 30 days. For the next 30 days. While you got your phone out, you can follow me right there at Dr. Dave Martin. But keep speaking that. The rest of your life will be the best. One more time. Say it like you believe it. Say the rest of my life will be the best of my life. All right. I think they got a picture. My wife and son couldn't be with me today. I think they got a picture of them. There they are. Just so when I'm talking about them, you'll know who they are. That's my wife. She's the one on the right. And her name is Christine, and she's not here today. The problem was the other day we were at the bank, and someone said, why didn't she come? We were at the bank the other day, and the guy in front of us was robbing the bank. And his mask kind of came off, and he asked the teller, he said, did you see my face? And the teller said, yeah, I saw your face, and he shot the teller. He turned around and looked at me and my wife. He said, did either one of you see my face? And I said, I didn't. Anyway, she's not here today. But I'm kidding. That was a joke. That was just a joke. But that's my wife, Christine, and my little boy, Solomon. And Solomon just turned 11 years old, and he's awesome. I'll tell you more about them later. But let me get into this a little bit. I'm going to give you three things. I grew up in a small town in Mississippi. Grew up poor. We were poor growing up. We thought you're supposed to be poor. Poor people go to heaven. You know, and we did everything we could to stay broke, you know. For Christmas, my parents gave us batteries, toys not included. You know what I'm saying? That's how we grew up, and I began to get some principles. I began to understand some principles growing up in this small town. But as I began to put these principles to practice, the mentor of mine that I told you about that said, could you find an hour a day to invest in yourself? I did. I found that hour a day. In my 20s, began to invest in myself. By the time I was 30, I'd made my first $1 million. It wasn't long after that till I lost that. And lost everything else I had. How many have ever made a mistake, by the way? How many have ever messed up? I had to do something over again. The person who's ever made a mistake's probably never made anything. I was with a friend of mine, Damon John, the other day. He's on the show The Shark Tank. And he was talking about all of his, he goes, I think I've got more mistakes. I think I've had more failures than I've had successes. And you look at how successful he's become, but you start thinking about how many failures it takes to get you to the success. What was it? Albert Einstein I didn't have 10,000. I had 10,000, found 10,000 ways it didn't work before I found the one that did. And so you'll find along the way, we've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different athletes and things. And there's an athlete by the name of Kobe Bryant, plays basketball not far from here. And Kobe kind of inspired me in this book I wrote. I'm going to tell you about it. I'll give you some more information about it in a little bit. But it kind of fits right here because Kobe in 2014 set the record for the most missed shots in the history of the NBA. How'd you like to have that record? The most missed shots in the history of the NBA. What's amazing is 7 days after he set the record for the most missed shots, he passed up Michael Jordan for the most points scored during his career. So the same guy who's got the most missed shots now passes up one of the greatest players of all time for the most points scored. And they said, how did you do it? And Kobe said, well, it's real simple. I just took another shot. And he made this statement. He said, you can't let the fear of failure or the fear of criticism keep you from trying again. We all make mistakes. We all have setbacks. I wrote this little book, and we brought a few of them with us. We didn't bring enough for everybody. Not everybody's into wisdom and learning, but there's always a few people that are. So I brought a few for you guys. But and that's this book called Another Shot. I love what Evander Holyfield said about the book, and I'm reading this quote because I want to tell you what Evander. I'm not trying to drop names. I'm just trying to tell you what the 5-time heavyweight champion of the world said about my book. Seriously, I'm not a name dropper. If anything I've learned from spending time with Oprah, it's I'd say you shouldn't drop names. But I love this quote by Evander Holyfield. He said, it's not getting knocked down that makes you lose the fight. It's not getting back up. We all get knocked down, but how do you get back up? You get back in the game, you get back in the fight. And so there's been times that I was knocked down and things didn't work out and I lost everything I had. It had to start over again. And I'm not telling you this to impress you. I'm telling you this to impress upon you how quickly and drastically things can change in your life if you have the right information. Not only did I come back from those setbacks, but I'm far beyond where I was, 15, 20 years ago. Why? Because I put these principles to practice in my life. And so I want you to get a hold of these. And one of the things I love to do is I like to change people's thinking, their mindsets. If you can change your thinking, you can change your life. And a lot of people go through life so negative. And so how many have to work at being positive? You have to be honest. You have to work at it. I have to work. I was born a pessimist. I have to work at it. Even my blood type is B negative. So I mean, it's a work all the time, but it's a choice that I make. And so a lot of times if you can just change your thinking, you could change your life. If you just change your thinking, you could change your life. And so what got me into personal growth and development was a statement that I heard. And I grew up in church. Like I said, my dad's a pastor, my grandfather's a pastor. So I knew the Bible, but all of a sudden the Bible come alive to me with these principles that would help me succeed. In sports, I got into personal growth and development and stuff. But there was a guy by the name of Sir Edmund Hillary. Anybody ever heard of Sir Edmund Hillary? Okay, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 people, a few people. Sir Edmund Hillary is the first man to ever summit Mount Everest. He's the first person to ever get to the top of Mount Everest. And I heard the story about him getting up there, and I thought that's awesome. He got up one day, went out there, climbed up to the top. He made it. He's the first one to do it. And I never thought maybe he didn't make it the first time or the second time. Maybe he tried it a few times before he actually got up there. I just pictured he just got up, walked out there, and he made it to the top. No one else could. As I read his story, I found out that he tried several times before he got to the top. And there was a statement, it's kind of an obscure quote that he had, but I found this quote. And what's amazing, and again, it's a principle that's in the Bible. How many remember the scripture in the Bible that talks about speaking to your mountain? You could speak to your mountain. Well, that's what Sir Edmund Hillary did. He spoke to his mountain. And look at this quote. Sir Edmund Hillary went out and he looked at the mountain. He said, I will come again and conquer you, because as a mountain you can't grow, but as a human I can. I don't know how big the mountains are in your business and your life and your finances and your relationships, but hey, as a human, you have the ability to grow. He didn't make it the first time. He studied, he prepared, he got different equipment. He didn't make it the second time. He got another coach, he got some more equipment. He kept preparing, he kept working out, whatever he had to do to prepare, because as a human, he had the ability to grow and to develop. No matter where you are today, you have the ability to grow and to develop your thinking, your mindset, your team, all that to help you reach the top of the mountain that you're trying to climb. And so that began my journey of personal growth, and that sparked in me some of the, where I spent tens of thousands of hours studying successful people, whether they were great on the baseball field, the battlefield, the business field, whatever field of life. And I found there were common qualities in their life that made them great. I wrote a book called The 12 Traits of the Greats, where I studied these great achievers. And that's why I'm going to give you a few of these traits. We're not going to have time to go through all 12 of them today, but I'm going to give you a few of them that I think will help you. But in that process, there's just basically three things I want you to remember today. So if you got your pen, paper, write these three things down. The first thing we're going to talk about, and we're going to get as far as we can in this first session, then we're going to have a break, and I'll come back and we'll finish it up in the second session. But the first thing I want you to get is, number one, growth is not automatic. It's your responsibility. Growth is not automatic. You're only young once, you can be immature indefinitely. It's a choice to learn. If you want tomorrow to be different than today, you've got to learn something today in order to make tomorrow different. How many would like to be doing better than you're doing right now? It means there's something you don't know. If tomorrow's going to be different than today, if you've ever heard me before teach on wisdom, I talk about this a lot. If I want the rest of my year to be the best of my year, what am I going to do different the rest of this year? Because here we go. We still got, 2.5 months left this year? How many got some things you'd like to see in your life or business happen in the next 2.5 months and finish this year strong? I mean, finish it with your best sales this quarter. Or it's like this. How many have ever seen a football team come back in the last quarter of the game and accomplish more than they did in the whole first 3 quarters? And so here we are in the last quarter. How am I going to make the rest of my year the best of my year? I'm going to have to learn something different. If I want tomorrow to be different than today, I've got to learn something today. What if you spent the next 2.5 months learning, growing, developing? That would make the rest of your year the best of your year. That's what you're doing today. You're investing in yourself, your time, your Saturday morning to come, to learn, to grow, to find out something. So I try to learn something every day. I learned the other day, if your airbag deploys in your car, it costs $500 to put your airbag back. I didn't know that. Some little, but sometimes it's little things you learn. But if you can learn something, they're explaining it to me. I was looking at this car, and they were explaining it to me because they were telling me that if this car had the benefit of the passenger side airbag could turn off, right? Because if no one's with you and it deploys, you still pay $500. So the benefit of this car is you could turn the passenger side off, Then I started thinking about the people who were with me. That's $500, you know? You're like, start, I don't know, should I leave it on? Anyway, I had a little accident the other day. I called home and said, honey, don't worry, I'm fine. My airbag deployed. I'm sorry about your mom. Decisions. Anyway, I'm kidding. That was a joke. I love my mother-in-law. She's awesome. A couple of Christmases ago, I got my mother-in-law a cemetery plot for Christmas. And I didn't get her anything last year. She was all mad at me. You didn't give me anything for Christmas this year. I'm like, you didn't even use what I got you last year. Anyway, there's always something to learn. So keep learning, keep growing. If you want tomorrow, here's the thing, it's your responsibility. Actually, that's the first trait in the 12 traits of the greats. That's the first trait I put in there is responsibility. Responsibility, because hey, if you're gonna be great, as long as you blame other people for your problems, you're not gonna get very far. It's the government's fault. It's the economy's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's my wife's fault. It's my boss's fault. How many know someone that always blames other people for all their problems? It's always someone else. We can always blame other people for our problems. I was getting my physical doctor said, Dave, you need to lose 25 pounds. I'm like, that's Krispy Kreme's fault. I didn't make those donuts so good and the hot and that light flashes. How many know what I'm talking about? That red light when they're hot now, that's like, my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. Anyway, my decision yesterday to eat the donut got me the place I am today, 25 pounds overweight. So I've got to make a decision if I want tomorrow to be different than today. So I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to lose weight. Then I saw this T-shirt the other day and it said, fat people are harder to kidnap. And I'm like, hold on, I got to protect myself. You know, it's dangerous. It's dangerous out there. But my wife, she said, honey, don't worry. You've got the body of a god. It's like, thanks, babe. She said, yeah, Buddha. Anyway, we don't like to talk about responsibility because, like I said, it's easier to blame other people. But if you don't make personal growth your responsibility, it's never going to happen. The road to anything worthwhile is always uphill, so the sooner you start climbing, the sooner you'll get to reaching your potential. The reason first grade desks are so small is because you're not supposed to be sitting in them when you're 23. I love what Henry Ford said. He said, it's been my observation that successful people get ahead during the time that other people waste. It's at moments of your day. What are you going to do at the moments of your day? What if you could take 1 hour a day to learn something that you didn't know before? So take your responsibility. I was reading the story of the, I think they called it the Black Plague. It was in the 18th century where mothers were having children and all the mothers were dying. 70% of the moms were having children and were dying, and they were trying to figure it out, and the doctors were trying to figure it out. And so in the mornings they would do autopsies, and they would find out what was going on. They'd do autopsies on the bodies. In the afternoons they would deliver more babies. And Oliver Wendell Holmes, the father of the first Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, was a doctor. And as he studied this, he said, I tell you what the problem is. He said, what the problem is, you're not washing your hands and utensils between when you're doing the autopsies and when you're doing the deliveries. And they said, no, that's not it. That's ridiculous. That's not it. For 30 years, they kept doing this. And mothers kept dying. Mothers kept dying. Finally, someone discovered, and they started washing the utensils and cleaning themselves up very well. And they realized all of a sudden it stopped. They had been blaming all the other reasons, looking for all the other reasons, when the problem was them. They were the problem. And a lot of times we'll find that we're the problem, and if we could take responsibility for the things that we need to change. What do I need to do different? What do I need to change in my relationship, in my health, in my finances? It's like I said, it's easy to blame other people for your problems. It's a lot harder to take responsibility. That's why I made it the first chapter, because most people can't get past that part. If you're going to do anything great, if you're going to do anything great, you have to decide what you have to change. What are you going to do different than you're doing right now? All right, let me get to something that's a little more fun. I can tell you didn't like that part. Let's talk about your imagination just for a minute. This is one of my favorite subjects to talk about, the imagination, because we don't hear about this a lot in church, because it could be new age, kind of visualization or the imagination. Could be a New Age thing, or could be a Walt Disney thing for sure. It could be a Walt Disney thing. But here's the thing: Walt Disney, yeah, he understood the power of the imagination. In 1971, they were dedicating Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and they were talking to Miss Disney. And they said, isn't it sad? He had died just a few years before they actually dedicated Disney World there in Orlando, Florida. He died a few years before that. They were talking to his wife. They said, isn't it a shame that Walt never got to see this amazing park built? And she said, oh, no, Walt saw it. Walt saw it before any of us, and that's why it's here. See, if you can begin to see, that's one thing I love about Pastor Obed. He can visualize, he can see way beyond where we are right now. He can see what's coming in the future. He can see where we're going. He has I love people that have big vision. And when you can see, you say, well, okay, that's great. Well, I was talking about Jim Carrey earlier. In the early 90s, Jim Carrey used to be on a show called In Living Color. Did stand-up comedy, sketch comedy. He wanted to be in movies is what he really wanted to do, but he was on this show. But in about 1991, Jim Carrey wrote himself a check for $10 million. He said, one day I want to be in a major motion picture. I want to get paid $10 million. So he wrote himself a check, and he dated the check November 1995. To make a long story short, within 2 weeks of the date he'd written on the check, he carried the check in his wallet for 4 years. Every day he'd open his wallet, he'd see that check. And one day, within 2 weeks of the date he'd written on the check 4 years earlier, he signed a deal for the movie Pet Detective, I think it was, that got him paid, guess how much? $10 million. Something has to be seeable before it's believable before it's achievable. You say, okay, that's great. Where's that in the Bible? Oh, it's a lot of places in the Bible. Abraham's one place. Abraham, you're going to have children, and your children will have children. And all the descendants will come after you. And Abraham said, I'm 100 years old. My wife's 90. I don't see that being possible. And God said, okay, let me help you. Come out of your tent. Come outside of your tent. Look up in the sky. See all those stars? I want you to visualize those stars as your children and your children's children and all the descendants will come out. I want you to get a picture of what your future is going to look like. And he had him visualize where he was going. It's all throughout the Bible. David, whoever kills the giant gets his bills paid off, no more taxes, gets to marry the king's daughter. David's giving lunch to his brothers, right? Faithful in the little things. And all of a sudden he hears about this. Whoever kills a giant gets the bills paid off, no more tax. And David says, what'd y'all say? If you look, he asked in the Bible, he asked, could you repeat that one more time? What do you get if you kill the giant? Why did he ask him to repeat it? I think because all of a sudden he started to get a picture of what his future could look like. You mean if I kill this giant, I get my bills paid off? You saw that big red stamp. Paid in full on all the bills. And I don't have to pay taxes, toss the tax bill, zero. And you get to marry the king's daughter. All right, I'll fight a giant. All of a sudden he was willing to fight a giant. Why? He got a picture of the money and the honey. See, here God gave every one of us a fast forward button and a rewind button. Your fast forward button is to pre-play your future. Your rewind button is to replay your past. So what did David do? He hit his fast forward button and he pre-played his future. Bills paid off, no more taxes, king's daughter. Next thing he did was he hit his rewind button and he went back into his past. Why? Because he remembered, I killed a bear once. That was pretty good. Oh, remember I killed that lion? That was awesome. Here's what I'd learned from that. Little victories always lead to big successes. Little victories. Go back and remember the things you've accomplished along the way. I know they say don't look back. The rearview mirror is smaller and the windshield's bigger because you're supposed to be going forward. And that's true. But there are times to go back and remember the victories because those little victories always lead to big successes. I'm at my parents' house one day. I'm looking around the house and they got all these pictures on the walls, and great pictures, memories, beautiful memories. There's my high school picture, my senior year of high school. Still got the picture on the wall at my parents' house. I graduated high school, 8, 9 years ago, something like that. Now, there's our family vacation to Washington, D.C. It's still up on the wall. There's my brother's wedding, the first one. I got to the hotel last night over here, and I got on the elevator, and this lady looked at me. She goes, you look just like my third husband. Well, welcome to the desert. My goodness. I was like, so nice to meet you. I was like, how many times have you been married? And she said twice. Anyway, so I'm looking around, all these pictures, right? All these pictures on the wall, but they were all pictures. They were all pictures of the past. They were all All memories. Nothing wrong with memories, but I noticed there was no pictures in there of the future, only pictures of the past. I went home that night and I decided to create a wall. I have a wall in my house, I call it my dream wall. And all I have on that wall are pictures of things I want in my future. Just pictures of things I want in my future. So on this wall, I got all kinds of stuff on the wall. How many have got someplace you'd like to go on vacation? You'd like to take your family to go on vacation? Most of us do. I wanted to take my family on the Disney cruise. We'd never been on the Disney cruise, so I got a picture of the Disney boat and I cut it out and I put it up on the wall. One day, we're gonna go on the Disney cruise. I wanted to build a little TV studio. I like to make coaching videos. I wanted to make some videos and things like that. And so I cut pictures of the cameras in a little studio, all the stuff I wanted. I cut all those pictures, I put up on the wall. One day I'm gonna have a little TV studio. I wanted to have a tour bus. I wanted to give $100,000. I wanted to give $100,000 to my church. How many like to be able to do that? Right? I talked about that earlier. Yeah, so I wrote a check to my church for $100,000 and I put up on the wall. One day I'm gonna give $100,000, and I wrote void on it. In case my pastor came over, before I was ready. You got to be careful. You see that thing, get all excited. So, you probably heard about the two guys that got stranded on the deserted island, and one of them was freaking out. He goes, "We got to get help, man." He goes, "They'll never find us on here." He said, "Get some palm branches. We got to make a fire. You make SOS in the sand. You got to help." The other guy's like, "We'll be fine. Don't worry about it." He goes and sits under the palm tree. He said, "Why are you just sitting there?" He said, "They're never going to find us. We're stranded on this island. Get some palm branches. We got to make a fire. We got to do something." He goes, "Trust me, we're going to be fine." He said, "Why are you not worried?" The guy said, "Because I'm a tither." He said, "Trust me, my pastor will find us." So I got all these pictures, right? I got all these pictures of things I wanted. I had a picture of this bus. I wanted to get this bus. And I remember I called a guy who had one. I said, "Hey," I said, "You ever rent that thing out?" He said, "Oh, no, I don't ever rent it out." I said, "Oh, man." He goes, "But I am trying to sell it." I said, "Well, I'm not really in a position to buy one." These buses could be like over $1 million. Some of these new ones, even used, are $300,000 or $400,000, a little more than I wanted to spend on a bus. But he said, "Listen," he said, "I tell you what, if you'll buy this bus today, I'll make you a deal you can't refuse." Well, I'm always into a deal I can't refuse. And I had a picture up on the wall. One day I'm gonna have one of these buses. And so he said, "Listen," he said, "Okay, I'll make a deal with you." He said, "If you buy the bus today," he said, "I bought a new Cadillac." He said, "If you'll pay off my Cadillac today, you can have the bus." And I said, "What kind of Cadillac did you get?" Because these buses even used are $200,000 or $300,000. And he said, "I got an Escalade. I owe $35,000. If you bring me $35,000 today, you can have the bus." And that day, I bought the Backstreet Boys tour bus. I got a picture of it. I bought it for $35,000. There it is right there, $35,000. But before I had the keys and the title, it was up on my wall. Something has to be seeable before it's believable, believable before it's achievable. I got that bus. I'm like, I got the Backstreet Boys tour bus. That will be famous. You don't feel all that famous when you drive yourself around in the bus. They had a driver. I'm driving myself. I sold the bus. I did. Now, one time, though, I did get to be famous. One time, my uncle drove. We had a driver. It was awesome. And I had about 4 guys. I'd spoken in Miami. We were coming up the interstate from Miami, going toward Orlando. We pull off, and this restaurant, this big tour bus pulls in, and you see people, they're looking, they're like, "I wonder who's on there." They're watching. All of a sudden, the door opens up. There's like 4 or 5 of us guys. We get off, and they're looking. They're like, First lady, she goes, "Are you guys famous?" And I said, "Yes." I did. I repented for that. But I just wanted to be famous at least once, And there's the tour bus. This is awesome. She's like, "I knew you guys were famous. Who are you?" And that's why you don't lie, because then you got to make up other lies. That's not. And I'm like, goodness, you probably wouldn't remember us. We were big in the 80s. We're just hanging tough. We're the new kids on the block. I was going to tell them we were New Edition. I didn't think they believed me. I was like, "Mr. Telephone Man." Come on, Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. Anyway, so we sold the bus. And I sold the bus for a lot more than $35,000. Thank you, Jesus. I sold it to a guy from Alaska. It was the craziest thing. This guy flies all the way from Alaska to Florida, buys the bus. And he got there, he was a shaman priest. I didn't even know what a shaman was. But I looked, it's like a Native American religion, something. It's kind of like a witch doctor. Nice guy, just a little strange, but he's a shaman. Anyway, he bought the bus, and I'm a hugger. He gave me the check, I gave him a hug. I'm like, thank you. And he's like, hey, don't squeeze the shaman. Okay, so listen, be teachable. Be teachable. The great basketball coach John Wooden said this. He said, what counts most is what you learn after you know it all. The more you learn, a lot of times, the less you think you have to learn. And what happens is then you become unteachable. You don't want to be unteachable. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is what you know. I'm gonna skip down because I'm gonna give you these last 2 points in the next session because I'm almost out of time. I've gone a little long, but there's another principle called wisdom. Wisdom. I think it's a few down there if you can find it in the PowerPoint. But another key I've learned: successful people constantly learn and grow. Successful people constantly learn and grow. If you want tomorrow to be different than today, learn something today. Whatever you do, well, the Bible even says, whatever you do, get wisdom. Proverbs 1 says that a wise person will increase in learning. So the Bible says if you're smart, you'll get smarter. Proverbs 2 says that the Lord would grant you a spirit of wisdom. Proverbs 3 says that wisdom is more valuable than silver, it's more profitable than gold, it's more precious than rubies. It tells us how valuable wisdom is. Proverbs 4 says whatever you do, get it. Wisdom will protect you, wisdom will promote you, and it gives us all the values of having wisdom in your life. How many of you got some areas of right now in your life, business, your career where you could use some wisdom? You could use some wisdom, some answers. Like I said, the difference between where you are and where you want to be is what you know. And so how do you get wisdom? How do you get wisdom? Like I said, it'll protect you. I always thought God would protect me. The Bible says wisdom protects me. Really? How in the world does that? Let me ask you this. How many locked your car out in the parking lot when you came in today? How many locked your car? Okay, look for who didn't. No, I'm kidding. Why did you lock your car? Don't you trust God? Of course you trust God. You just don't trust the people that might get in your car. So God gave you wisdom. Lock your car. Protects you. You understand what I'm saying? Wisdom. So God gives us wisdom to protect us in our business, in relationship, insurance, all that kind of stuff. God will give you wisdom. Wisdom promotes you. Wisdom promotes you. So how does it promote you? Two friends of mine were trying to get a promotion. Went down to HR, worked at the same company. They said, we both want to apply for the promotion. They said, okay, great, just take this test. They said, okay, and they took the test. They said, it's really a wisdom thing. Whoever gets the best score on the test gets the promotion. So the next day they called him in. They said, hey, guys, we looked over your test. You actually both scored the exact same thing on the test. They said, but we can only give one of you the job. So Kenny, we gave it to you. Well, Robert was mad. I mean, they scored the same thing. Why did you pick him? They said, well, it really came down to question 46. They said, what was question 46? They said, well, it wasn't the question as much really as it was your answers that made our decision. I said, well, what was our answers? They said, well, Kenny, you got the job. Your answer was, I don't know. They said, Robert, you put me either. A little bit of wisdom can make all the difference in the world. So whatever you do, how do you get wisdom? 3 ways you can get wisdom. Number 1, you can get it from mistakes, which is the slowest way to get it, by the way, is to get it from your mistakes. Second way to get wisdom is from mentors. A good coach, a mentor, your pastor. How many would rather get your wisdom from, say, Pastor Obed's mistakes than your own? Yeah, I would. If I could learn from his mistakes, my goodness, that'd save me a whole lot of time. That's called mentorship. I called one of my mentors the other day. I said, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? He said, oh, I wouldn't do that if I was you. I said, why not? I think it's a great idea. He said, yeah. He said, so did I. He'd already done it. Found out it didn't work. Man, he just saved me a whole lot of time. Saved me 3 months of work, $40,000 of investment. Why? Because he'd already done what I was planning to do. So mentorship becomes your shortcut to success. People say there's no shortcut to success. That's not true. Mentorship is your shortcut to success. Third way to get wisdom is money. You can buy wisdom. Now that's the quickest way to get it, by the way. You can go to Barnes & Noble. What took someone their entire lifetime to figure out, you can learn in 3 hours for $20 by buying a book. You'd be crazy not to buy wisdom. I mean, I got mentors I've never met. I just got their books, their CDs. I can't go to Barnes & Noble without spending $200 or $300. There's too much stuff I don't know. You go to my house, I got over 4,000 books. I can't get enough. I was at a meeting with a guy named Peter J. Daniels. Anybody ever heard of Peter J. Daniels? Anybody ever heard of Peter J. Daniels? A couple people. Peter J. Daniels is a wealthy businessman from Australia. I went to a seminar he did. It cost me about $3,000 to go to a seminar. I'm at the seminar. He's doing better than I'm doing, so obviously he knows something I don't know. So as long as he's talking, I'm writing. I'm like, that's good. I can use that. That's good. I can use that. At the end, he goes, I've got some books and CDs. Told us about some stuff he had. And so as soon as the break came, I ran back. I said, I want everything he's got. They said, you want everything? I said, everything. He knows something I don't know. I'm going to find out what it is. They added it up. They said, okay, if you buy everything back here, it'll be $1,600 for everything on the table. And I didn't know he knew that much stuff. That was $1,600. I wasn't expecting that. And I was like, wow. My friend said, that's crazy. You going to get it? I said, I think I am going to get it. He goes, you think it's worth it? I said, you know what? I think I'm worth it. See, I don't buy books because I don't buy books. I think the paper's worth it. I buy because I think I'm worth it. I mean, if I don't think I'm worth $20, why would anybody else think I'm worth $20? Again, you invest in yourself. It's how you see yourself. In the next session, we're going to talk about your mindset. How many would admit at some point in your life you've limited yourself by your own thinking? Yeah, of course we have. 3 ways you can see yourself. You can see yourself the way other people see you. May be good, may not be good. What other people think about you is really none of your business. Quit going through your whole life worrying about what everyone else thinks about you all the time. Eleanor Roosevelt said it this way. She said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. The second way to see yourself is how you see yourself. It's called confidence. We all want to have a good self-confidence, a good self-esteem. But again, things happen to us. People say things to us, do things that affect our self-esteem. So I can think of so many things happened in my life that all the way back to high school. One time a girl broke up with me. I'm breaking up with you. You got low self-esteem. It's like, great, that helped. Things happen, I mean, another time in high school, this girl called me. She goes, hey, come over to my house. Nobody's home. I went over there. Nobody's home. I kept knocking. Nobody. That hurts. That's hurtful to you. It's damaging to your self-esteem. So I could go through my whole life how other people see me. I could go through my whole life how I see me. Or what if I could go through my whole life seeing myself the way God sees me? A friend of mine calls it Godfidence. Not just a confidence, but knowing who you are. If you understand the picture God has of you, my goodness, God has got some amazing Photoshop skills. I mean, the picture he has of you has been touched up. He's already removed all the wrinkles of weakness, taking out all the blemishes of failure. The picture God has of you is a picture of perfect success. So if you can live into the picture God has of you, man, that'd make a big difference in your life. And so anyway, I bought everything the guy had. I bought all of it. I started listening to it, and I got a lot of good ideas. But then I got this one really great idea. The billionaire Ross Perot said this. He said, all it takes is one good idea to live like a king the rest of your life. Just one good idea to live like a king the rest of your life. Now, I didn't get a king idea, but I didn't get a bad idea. Got this idea, I put the idea together, I sold the idea. Within about 8 months, this idea produced me a little over $300,000. Say, praise the Lord or something. You're a little jealous of my blessing. Like, you're just like, I don't care. You'd be happier if it was your idea, I'm sure. How many would be happy if you had a $300,000 idea right now? That's what I thought. How many be happy if you just had like a $50,000 idea? How many just hope you have an idea before you, my God, I hope I think of something. Yeah. Here's what I'm saying. You always invest in what you find valuable. That's all I'm saying. I bought all that one idea. Now, how many think a $1,600 investment was worth a $300,000 idea? Plus, how many have ever made a mistake that cost you more than $1,600? When if you'd had some wisdom, you might not have made that same mistake. So I encourage you, whatever you do, successful people are constantly learning, growing. They're getting wisdom. Jim Rohn said this. He said, the greatest investment you'll ever make is the investment you make in yourself. What a great quote. The greatest investment you'll ever make is the investment you make in yourself. And so I encourage you, always get booked. We brought 2 things with us. We didn't bring, like I said, didn't bring enough for everybody, but there's always a few people that are into to growth and wisdom. And so we got a couple things back there that I think will help you. And I'm trying to see what I got back. Okay, the book I mentioned earlier, Another Shot. I think we only brought about 100 of these. So I would encourage you, if you've ever made a mistake, this book is for you. It really helps you develop a plan, a game plan. And what I love about this book, 3 things I love about this book. It's really inspirational, great stories. And we do a cool thing with this book. Number one, if you buy this book, it'll help you. I promise you, you'll enjoy it and it'll help you. Number 2, if you buy this book, it'll help me. And I'm just being honest because I think we should be honest with each other. But the third thing I really love about this book is every time you buy a copy of this book, we give a copy to an inmate. An inmate, someone in the prison system gets a copy of this book when you buy one. And here's what I'm going to do today while we've got them. The books are $20. You can get a second book for just $10. Maybe you know someone else who's going through some things that'd be an encouragement to them. Now here's what I want you to do with it. The second book I want you to get, and I want you to give it to someone. The Bible says your gift will make room for you. Maybe there's someone you've been thinking, man, I've really been wanting to invite them to church. This would be a great way to say, hey, I was at church. We had this thing for business people the other day. Maybe someone you work with. Say, hey, our church, man, we love business people. We love to see people succeed. And we had one the other day. I got a copy of this book for you. Give it to them. All of a sudden, it opens up their heart. Now you have a great opportunity to invite them to church. 80% of people come to church if you just ask. So your gift makes room for you. Then you ask them. Now you got a great way to bring someone back to destiny and say, hey, people, they care about you and they care about your future. Anyway, so like I said, one is 22 of them for $30. And then the only other thing we've got back there is a coaching program that I put together. It's called Success Made Simple. Actually, what it is, it's 6 months of coaching. If you'd like to spend the next 6 months with me, we can go through a lot of these principles, some of these keys we're talking about today, and I put them all together in this. It's 3 coaching programs. In here, you get the USB drive, so you just pop them in your computer. On each of these, you'll get the book that goes with it. You'll get a workbook. How many remember better when you write stuff down? Anybody like that? That's how I am too. So I make workbooks so you can write them down and write down the answers to help you remember. And then the 12 traits of the greats, that system is in here. That's the book we're teaching from this morning. All 12 of these traits. So it's a 90-day program. It's 12 weeks. We take a trait a week. You'll read the book. You got the workbook. There's 12 video sessions where I'll coach you. I can't sit down and coach everyone individually, but you'll watch that coaching video. We'll go through that trait. Then there's 12 audio sessions. So whatever trait you're on that week, you'll listen to that audio over and over and over again till you get tired of hearing it. When you get sick and tired of hearing it, you're just then starting to get it. So listen to it a couple more times. How many have ever watched a movie 5 times? How many saw things the 5th time? You didn't see the first? Yeah, so you got to do it over and over again. So in that 12 traits of the greats, you'll see there's 4 ways. The book, the workbook, the audios, the videos. We'll do 12 weeks, a trait a week. We'll go through all 12 of those, how to put them to practice in your life. The second one is this book, Another Shot. I developed a plan called it's the 30-day game plan. And what I did was when you finish this 30 days through this, every day you'll get a video. And on this one, I had some friends join me. So I didn't do all the coaching. I'll coach you through, but I had friends join me. Like we talk about decision making. Anybody ever made a bad decision? How many like to make right decisions all the time? So I've got a good friend of mine. His name's Lee Cockerel. Lee Cockerel ran Disney World in Orlando, Florida. All 4 parks, the 2 water parks, 18, 19 hotels, 200 and something restaurants, 70,000 employees. Ran all of that for 13 years. I figured he knows something about decision making. He's probably made a few of them. And so I asked him to join me. So one day Lee becomes your coach, and it's me and Lee, and we'll kind of walk you through some things on decision making. Pat Williams, used to be the general manager of the Chicago Bulls, now he's with the Orlando Magic. He's your coach one day with me on here. Another day, we're talking about attitude. So I asked Joel Osteen. I was trying to help him, get his name out there a little bit, and so I said, Joel, if you want to be on it, he's like, thank you, Dave, I appreciate it, and so he's on here with me, and so you get the book, you get workbooks. There's a test, a personality profile test that you'll take during those 30 days. But what I love about it, at the end of the 30 days, you'll actually have a written plan. When I'm coaching people, one of the first questions they always ask me is, what do I do next? And I thought that's the most important thing you can know, is what to do next. So when you finish this 30 days, and I think it's our newest one, I think it's worth the entire thing. Actually, you're going to get all 3 of these programs. If you bought them all individually, if you went to our website and bought all 3 of these coaching programs, it would cost you just under $1,000. I think it's $991 or something. If you bought all of them, don't worry, I'm gonna give you a deal today. Because people at church always want deals. But if you saw us in a corporate environment, it'd be 900 and something dollars or something. But at church, I'm gonna give you all three of them for the price of just one of the coaching programs. So today, basically, you're gonna do it's $300 for all three programs. It's 6 months of coaching for just $300. You could at least be grateful. Yeah, you're welcome. That's because I love Pastor Obed, so I'm gonna give you all give you the Pastor Obed deal right here. So 3 reasons you need a coach. Why? You need someone to ask you questions. Through here, I'm gonna ask you questions that you're gonna answer. They're gonna help you find your path and find your direction, where to go next. You need someone to help you develop a map. That's what we do. We finish with a game plan of what to do next. And then you also have an email in here. If you have questions and things like that, you can coach. You can send emails, and we'll help you walk through some of those things to help you hold you accountable to reach the success. So all 3 programs, basically, you're paying $100 a piece. That's a steal of a deal right there. You should probably wear a mask when you go back there to buy this, because you're robbing me. It's such a good deal. But anyway, not for everybody. I think we only sent 15 of these. So the 15 smartest people that think you're worth it. I mean, that's less than $1 a day between now and the end of the year, or right around $1 a day between now and the end of the year, or something, or no, $10 a day. That's what it is, something like that, to invest in yourself. And this would be great to start right now. Just finish out the year strong, get you going into next year. Let me help coach you. And so anyway, those are all back there. They'll be a help to you and a blessing to you. And then when we come back, I got 2 of the points and a few keys in there I'm going to drop in. How many got at least 1 key already? You're like, man, that's going to help me right there. I'm going over my time, so I can cut my next session down a couple minutes. But 2 people, tell me one thing you got already. If we left right now, you're like, that's the key. That's what I needed right there. 2 people, real quick. Let me see if you got something back there. Wisdom, the value of learning and growing from yourself. Something has to be seeable before it's believed. How many of the dream wall kind of stood out to you a little bit? Just getting a picture. You can start with a board. Our little boy, he's 11, but he's got a dream board in his room where he gets magazines, he cuts stuff out, and he puts it up there. I'd encourage him to dream big. One person right over here, just one more person. Got something right here. Yeah, increase your imagination. Think bigger. My goodness, we should be the biggest thinkers in the world. We serve the creator of the entire universe, who spoke everything into existence. We should be thinking bigger, believing bigger, dreaming bigger. You might as well dream big, because it doesn't take any more energy to dream a big dream than it does to dream a little dream. Michelangelo said, I'd rather dream too big and miss it than to dream too low and to reach it. You know, and so dream big, believe big, and remember, the rest of your life. Oh, come on, like you believe it. One more time. Say, the rest of my life will be the best of my life. All right, I'll be back there. You coming now? You coming now? I'll be back there to sign books at sometime afterwards or sometime today. Anyway, I encourage you to invest in yourself. God bless you guys.